Thanks for joining us again, and welcome back to Passing the Peace Pipe. We've got your Chief Blitz Freak,
Hey, how you doing?
and always your Packer Shaman here with you, just packing the peace pipe. Today we're looking at the media's latest hot topic, all the protests around the Black Lives Matters.
And should they be allowed out while coronavirus is also
Yeah,
out?
that is a hot topic I've been seeing all over the social media. There's always the one stage of like, oh, fucking good on them, they better be, and then the other people being like, oh, fucking corona.
Well, it seems a little bit like I wonder whether these people just don't believe in the coronavirus because, majority of people I saw out in Brisbane, there was over 30,000 people, like all bunched together. And most of these people are the type of people are more likely to die from coronavirus. We have done a great job in Queensland of removing the virus, but if it's going to come back, I think we'll see it in a few weeks. It was
There was even bigger protests in Sydney though. With geez, I think they had like 50,000 or something. Not in the one group, but like multiple locations.
that's huge. That's huge. These are really big protests for our country at any point.
Mm. So yeah, I think it was, what was it? Yeah, 6th of June, the Saturday in Australia, they had another protest for Black Lives Matter and against police brutality and all that. And they had it in two different places, and one was around the main town hall, and they had about like 150 people there, maybe 200. But I think it was like just a couple of hours in, the police just basically came in, shut it down, started splitting people up, sending people home, just being like, oh, you gotta social distance and everything and whatnot. But what they did though is they shoved about 100 to 150 people in the central station in there that was still protesting, and then it already had like 50 people in the central station as well, and then they fucking blocked off the fucking exits. The police just formed a line around every exit and didn't let anyone come in or out. And then you can see footage online, and there is a line of the police standing there, just not letting anyone pass, not letting, just denying everything, keeping people boxed in. And then there's a gap in between, and then there's a line of protesters, and they're doing some chant over and over. But then, yeah, there's some protests. They come out, they ask, can they leave, can they go home? And they're like, no, no, you gotta be held here and for this amount of time and everything. And then, they go back, they keep chanting, and as they're chanting more and more, police start showing up. And then, they start pushing back people that are filming on the sidelines. Like the person that's filming was standing in a stairwell and looking down through it, and then they started pushing her back. But yeah, as they start to do that, you see the line of police just rush the line of protesters and start pepper spraying, just start going for it. And it's just like, what the actual fuck?
Damn.
Yeah.
They locked him in the building pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And then
That's a fire hazard
people,
right there.
yeah, fucking oath. And people trying to get out and shit, and trying to be as nice as possible. And then the police been like, nah. And it's like, we have the right to protest and everything. They didn't break any laws or anything. They just said something the police didn't like. At the moment, I just think people are like, fuck it. It's worth the risk. It's happening now. We've got to fucking do it. And I feel like this has kind of come out because of Corona, and it's because of how badly it was handled in America. Because that's where it all started from.
Yeah.
Because yeah, apparently it's like affected the African American community over there the worst, and then the police, they can't even really go for help for anyone, and then like the people that are supposed to be helping them have just proven themselves once again to be the most unhelpful, and so they've just really had enough.
I'm not a fan of police, and I saw what happened to the guy in America, and I'm like, you have to do something to stop the police. But I do find it strange living in Australia where I've seen that stuff happen, and police do kill people, and they get away with it in our country. Except the media is always on the side of the police. Like, if anything, they never It doesn't matter what a cop does. If a cop did that on camera in Australia, they would say that he didn't apply too much force and that the guy obviously died for whatever reason. And every single police officer and the government would back that cop, no matter how bad they do. So I totally agree on people like going out and protesting and complaining. I just find it strange that we're complaining because it's happened to one guy in America when there are plenty of examples in our country. And I'm not talking about death in custody. Death in custody is just because you've killed yourself or they've arrested you and somehow killed you. But in most cases, death in custody just means you killed yourself. And if you think people are going to kill themselves...
Would it still apply to prisons, death in custody? Like, what if, if another prisoner kills you?
I'm not sure, and I know this varies from country to country, where I would assume, yes, in Australia, the death in custody is you literally die in a prison.
And that's just it.
That's it.
That's just one big blanket term for everything.
Yes, it's one of these ridiculous terms that doesn't make sense. Whereas I think in most people's heads, they assume a death in custody is what they saw in the media, which sparked the riots in the States.
Yeah.
Is they think you have been outright murdered by a police officer.
Well, yeah, that was it. But they do have that a lot more in the States than basically anywhere else in the world, I believe.
Or is it just their media shows the police doing the wrong thing?
Well, that's the thing, though. It's not their media showing it. It's people over there with social media.
But they don't block it. Like, I'd give you an example of in 2014, in 1 month, in Brisbane, 5 people were murdered by the police. I'll give one example. A cop showed up at a guy's house where he had his child and partner there. They shot him. They claimed they shot him twice in the chest because he had a weapon. The media showed the firearm that the man had right next to his hand. That's all we heard in the media was they said, look, he was clearly going to kill the police. They did all they could. The coroner's inquest was then... It was blocked by the government and the media was not allowed to show it and didn't make a big deal about it. It turned out that gun was actually the cop's gun and he said, yeah, that's my gun. I put it down because I was shaken. And they said, well, where was his gun? And they described the plastic toy that was off to the side, which was his child's gun. No. The coroner's inquest also showed that he was shot once in the chest and once in the back. The police never answered for this, and the government tried to block this. It's just that the family of the murdered man, they posted all the information online anyway. And this was just one case where someone didn't need to die. I mean, one guy had a sword. And I was a firefighter. You would have been better off calling me to show up. We could have used our hoses. We could have removed the sword. This man would still be alive. But instead, the police show up. And even though this man did not rush the police, he was murdered in an affluent area as well. So this isn't just happening to poor people. This happens to, I guess, rich people with swords as well and plastic guns.
Damn. Fuck. Coming back to like why it's, people dying in custody and shit, I reckon this is basically they've just had it for so long that George was just the camel, the straw that broke the camel's back, basically.
Yeah.
And so it just pushed them when they were already having such a hard time. It's like they didn't need this.
Yeah.
And it's just pushed them over the breaking point. But it's just something that I reckon that's just been boiling up for ages. And it's just been interesting and like how it's also just gone around the world with all the protests. Because it's like in the UK, Australia, obviously America. I think I saw some stuff in like Brazil and stuff. Chinchilla.
I mean, other things I found strange was the dead man was unarmed. So people make a big deal about this, that he was an unarmed man. But, look, I'm only going to be off on numbers by 1 or 2 on this. But under the Obama administration, 38 unarmed black men were killed by police. Under the Trump administration, 10 unarmed black men. Which people are going to say, well, that's too much, but that's a huge improvement in a very short amount of time. Why did this not happen during the Obama administration? Or is it, like you said before, is Corona really the thing? Everyone's been locked in, certain people, it's become too much, and now this event happens, and
Yeah.
And over there it would be much worse because it wouldn't be like here where we were locked away. A lot of them would be locked away, but other ones would be out and about, and they'd have a lot of dead family
Oh
members.
yeah,
I
that
guess
was.
from
But yeah, a lot of people they had way more people just not believing it straight up, and then a lot of times they have a lot more, denser city populations as well. You've got a lot more people living in apartments. You've just got a lot more people in closer vicinities, and they also have like subway systems and everything. So just a lot of places where people in a crowded, contained like space and like airspace as well, because it is an airborne contagion.
it's it also it seems strange to me when I look at what they're protesting for, because at least there's been no looting in our country as far as I know. I don't think anything like that's happened. But surely the media's suppressing a lot of stuff as well in the States where I mean, I would assume the places they're rioting, I mean, they are throwing brick through people's windows and stuff. There must be some people fighting back. I mean, we hear that Americans are all crazy gun-toting people.
Oh
So if
yeah.
you came at my store and I had an AK, why wouldn't I just mow you down? And people like to use an example of you'll run out of bullets, but not if you're prepared. I mean, over there, I think I can get 1,000 AK rounds for about $150 at a
Yeah,
gun
something
show.
ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and
But
all you got to do is have a few friends, and then you protect your stores.
well, that's the thing though. I don't think they're not going after places that are still manned and everything. They're going after places that have been abandoned or places that the people are actually out protesting and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Um, because a lot of shop owners, um, yeah, they don't, it's their shop, but it's not their home, so they're not going to stand around in it forever. They usually just board up and leave most of the time.
So
And so it's just like, it's kind of just like a fucking hurricane going through of just fucking scumbags. And yeah, they need to board up. But yeah, if you could man it 24/7, yeah, probably you'd be G.
yeah,
But that's the thing though, it's like they wait for the protests to go through and everything, and then the looters come after that. And it's like, okay, all the police are now dealing with the protest that's down there. It's fucking midnight, 3 a.m., whatever. Easy pickings, all these stores. Even if we trip the alarms and shit, who's gonna come? They've got people to blame it on, you know.
so you'd suggest so there's probably just a massive crime wave. A lot of this
Oh, yeah.
thing is literally
It
just
is.
criminals.
Yeah, opportunistic criminals. But no, they're speaking of guys fighting back in the US. There was actually this one guy. Fuck, I think it was. No, I'm probably not gonna get the city right. It was either Washington or maybe like Denver or something. But he was actually on the side supporting the police. But he had his car, and I'm not sure if he was, because he wasn't parked, and I'm not sure if he was like driving near the protesters or drove through them, not harming anyone at that point, or he just happened to get caught up in it, or he was literally put himself there because he knew the protests were going down. But he gets out to support the police, and he grabs out of his car a fucking bow and arrow, like he's fucking Legolas.
Yeah.
The bloody Robin Hood here, except reverse, of course. But then, yeah, and he just like telling the bloody protesters, fuck off, they got it right, well, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And they're just like, oi, mate, you calm down, don't fucking point that at anyone. And he hasn't even got like a quiver or anything, he's got a single arrow and his bow. And he's just like, no, I'll fucking get you. And then he raises it at the crowd. And it's just like, oh shit. But then the crowd just fucking mobs him straight up. And he just like gets buried in the sea of people. And that is the lot. You can look up the footage as well.
Nice.
That
I think
is
I'm
the
gonna have
last-
to check that. That sounds.
That is the last
Fun.
you see of him. And then, yeah, and then there's just been, like, photos of him just, like, all bloodied face and everything afterwards. And it's just like, well, yeah, you're gonna go out, threaten people with like a shitty weapon as well. And it's like, what do you expect? Like, the crowd's already really riled up and everything.
I've seen some strange footage. Like the media is clearly backing the protesters, but the weirdest thing I think I saw was that one of the mayors of a city in California actually got on his knees in front of protesters to show solidarity and apologized for his white privilege and stuff like that. But I've noticed it was because he's obviously a mayor that they showed it, but they're not showing that this is happening to normal people. And it is really strange how times change, because it got me thinking. I was in, I can't remember, this was a long time ago, showing my age. I was in a police riot maybe 20 years ago, and the media did cover it, but they were very careful about what they said, because I was at a music festival. Everyone was having a great time. I mean, there were blind drunk people there, including me. But it was a good time. I passed out a few times at it anyway. Didn't get robbed or anything. Really nice people. And I believe I know it started by, in the alcohol tent, someone was kicking water because it started raining. They started kicking water at someone. The person turned round and went, "You better fuck off. I'm an undercover cop." Now, this was a great music festival, and it wasn't a smart thing for that cop to say, because now the person doesn't know if he really is one or not. But either way, the Australian thing to do is to continue to kick water on him, and hopefully anyone else who hears what just happened also kicks water, which is exactly what happened. Well, this motherfucker called for backup because he was getting a little bit of water kicked on him, and he didn't even need to tell anyone he was an undercover cop. He called in the riot squad, which came in. I got punched in the fucking throat. That cop got hit with a bottle shortly afterwards. It was just insane. The police were just assaulting people. People were assaulting them back. We were all trying to get out. Once you escaped, you had a laugh. We weren't even protesting anything. We didn't want to be heard. We just didn't want to really be punched in the throat.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so these things used to happen, and the media, I guess, would talk about things, but it's weird how it's portrayed now.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, I'm actually surprised no one died at that, because the cops, I mean, you want to use words like they were heavy-handed. Well, if you're called in to literally stop people assaulting people, or basically assault people, like that is going to be, you're going to be heavy-handed. That's your option. And I mean, I can look back and I can laugh on this sort of stuff, but I guess the media doesn't make a big deal of things when they don't support it. They didn't want the police in this country. They don't want the police to be in shit, so they don't support it. Whereas it seems like in America, the media is not on the side of the police, obviously.
Yeah.
But it does seem strange to me why they wouldn't try to be more helpful to their own countries or communities, because I think we're all like adult enough to know that like what those cops did was absolutely fucking ridiculous, and they were charged, and I don't think other cops backed them. There's absolutely no reason for randomly bashing other cops, and I gotta say, I do not like cops, but there is no way in Australia that you would have one or two cops standing out on a corner knowing full well that they are about to be overwhelmed by thousands and thousands of people who hate them. But over there, they're actually still trying to do their job, which, I mean, good luck to them.
In the UK, they were all reporting that like this policeman had been like knocked off his horse and everything, and they were saying, oh, some people are reporting a brick's been thrown at him, other people reporting that a group of people pushed him and everything. But then you look at the footage, and you actually really just can't see anything that's happening to him or anything, and no one approaching him. It really just looks like the police horse got spooked from everyone rushing and all the people and all the noise and everything, and then just kind of, reared up and charged off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it charges off down the road into another group of police as well.
See, it seems in a riot situation,
But yeah,
horses aren't really
no.
the correct tool.
No.
Most cops are on motorbikes now. Anyway,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get them or
No,
other
I
equipment, but
would
a
say
horse
that's
doesn't seem right.
basically animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, horses would really not like that situation, full stop.
I mean, you know what animal would like that situation, but only if you were going to use extreme prejudice against the crowd. Donkeys. Donkeys love to kick shit.
Okay.
You would just be looking forward, riding your donkey, and then you'd go, now Eeyore, and Eeyore will spin around and kick the shit out of the crowd.
Man, if they kick like fucking
Imagine a
as
Viking-
hard as a horse does, they'll break
I
ribs
think they
and
kick
shit.
harder. A
Damn.
Viking wall of donkeys' asses facing you.
Shield wall ass.
Shield wall.
Ass shield wall. But yeah, we're running dry here, so we're gonna head out and go fill up. So that'll be all for this week.
Chief Blitz Freak!
And the Pack of Shaman, we're out.